Hi, welcome back. Part 2. It's not going to be a very long part 2, I don't think, unless I start rambling on. I don't remember what I said in the last one now. Yeah, but this stick has worked out quite well. In fact, it's vital, because without this thing, all these wires would just been a big massive knot, and it'd look horrendous. It'd just break itself. So anyway, I've got all the cables in. They look a bit floppy at the minute. Can you imagine when the fuselage side's on? I'll glue these in and I'll put them under. Well, put them under a little bit of tension. I hope you can see this, and you'll see that they're all kind of tight and straight lines and everything. I don't know how I could make that any better than that. To be fair, I'm not saying I could do it. I'm not very good at this. I just at this scale and the fragility of all this, I just don't know how to make that any better personally. If somebody else can do that, I'd love to see it. And is it necessary? I don't know. If you're going to expose this thing, you know, as a model like this, and have it on display like this, yes, I would say you could probably make it better. You could. I'm trying to get something small enough to point with. These things, you could make them as individual parts. I suppose you could. The little connectors, you could split them into individual parts and make them more like a connector, I suppose. But I'm not doing that, because when it's in the model you can't hardly see any of this at all, which is a little bit depressing. But yeah, I've got the control column in now as well. That's in its down and Errol and right. I've got the control rod that connects to it. That's a scratch built part as well. This plastic tube, this is plastic tubing with a metal core in it. I think whoever I got it, which is quite good really, because it gives you that extra dimension. I've put a little brass piece in it and put a split in it, and that now glues onto the control panel. There's a little stub in the kit itself that's there, so you can use that. The base of the push rod part is just, I've drilled a little hole in that area if you like, and then just pushed this tube into that hole and then glued it in. The connectors, as I said, they're just brass tubing slipped over the top of the wires. Just touch some thin super glue in there, that capillary's in there and glues them in place. One thing you do need if you're going to work at this small, you can't see them. I don't know how big it looks on here, but when you're actually handling it and picking it up, it's so small. It's definitely a watchmaking sort of style. So I would say invest in some of these sort of things. I mean, I got these from Hobbycraft. I'm sure there's other people. Amazon will probably sell them. I don't know what strength this lens is actually. It can be like in like a box with loads of different lenses in it, and I kind of settled on this one. But they're great. I mean, I can see almost anything with these. My close vision is quite good. My eyesight distance wise I have to wear glasses, but close up my eyes are very good actually. But I still have to wear reading glasses for some small work, and this stuff's so small I've had to resort to this, mainly to just get the tubes onto the wires because they're so little. So yeah, invaluable piece of equipment that for this sort of work. I can't wear them for a long period of time though, because they're like wearing like jam jar bottoms, and it gives you a headache if you overdo it. So you have to do small stints of it. This has been fun to do. I've got to say it's been fun to do, but really difficult. I've got to say it's probably the most difficult thing I've done on a kit in a long time. Shout out to my wife for helping with this actually, because these wires, because one wire is not thick enough, I had to twist them together and I couldn't work out how to do it. I tried the rubber glove method and they were alright, but it didn't work very well. So she's very good at sewing and needlecraft and all sorts of things like that, and plaiting and all sorts of crafty stuff like that. So basically what we helped devise, I ended up putting a pin in a vise and creating and getting two strands of wire, putting a knot in one end, putting it over the pin, and then just crossing them over, tying them up into a strand, and it worked alright. That's worked alright. But on more than one occasion when I've been doing this, I've had to just kind of put it down and walk away, because you know it nearly got launched out the window a few times, and the wire's breaking and everything. So it's it's a nice bit done that though, because now I've got that in place. the next stage of the build is to, I think I've mentioned this before, I was going to do this before, I don't need to now because I've managed to do that as a complete unit. I need to just put the pieces on this side. Well, some of these need, there's extra wiring you can put onto that part of it as well. It never ends, you can have wires forever on this thing, it's full of them. But yeah, they need the detail put on there, and then this part can go in then. And once this part's in place, it does fit, but I had to glue all these three formers in place so I could then slot the wires through them and then tape them up, so that was quite an interesting thing to do as well. So I couldn't do that on camera because it was just driving me mental. But this does fit, but you have to negotiate the stick. But it does fit in there. There we go. So yeah, it's in there now. So what I'll do, I don't know what to do about the wires yet. If I'm going to glue it in like this, I probably will do, but bear in mind the other side will be on this when I do that. And then I'll end up with all the wires hanging out the back. I should still be able to see which ones are which. So I'll probably unpair one at a time and then glue it into where it's going to go and then remove the stick at the end. It's not going to be vitally important if they did flop about at the end, because at least it's not going to break itself at that point. So yeah, next stage, get this bit done, then I can get this. I need to put the actual compass in there as well. I forgot to put that in. I didn't forget, I just couldn't be bothered. So I've got to paint that up here, and that's quite a lengthy process getting that right. So yeah, I can still get the compass in, that's not a problem. It needs some more wires in the bottom of the cockpit floor. I've looked all over where I've seen them on one picture where if you imagine these wires here that I've put in, it's the same sort of pattern that goes along the bottom of that cockpit floor there, and I think they go, but I don't know where they come from and I don't know where they go to. I know they go to, very likely go to these they're not oxygen bottles, they're pneumatic bottles I think for the undercarriage and stuff like that. Again, don't quote me. But they're not oxygen bottles for the pilot, they're something to do with the actual running of the aircraft itself. So they might go to those. So I'm not going to try and connect them to the bottles, that's just going way beyond necessity, I think. But I am going to put the wires in that part of the cockpit floor, and I might have some just floating around in there somewhere, just to give the impression. So that needs to be done, and then we can get the what else do I need to do then? This side of the cockpit tub needs finishing, well, starting. I haven't done any of that. There's loads of stuff on that one that needs doing. There's models in themselves, the throttle throttle quadrant and everything, and there's all sorts of things. So it's going to be a while before I get the fuselage together, but it's getting there now. So yeah, but I'm really glad this bit's done, because it's been a yeah, I'm not going to swear, but yeah, it's been a tricky one. But I've enjoyed it and I've learnt a lot, and this is what we do when we model make, don't we? There's no such thing as perfection, because every time you do something, I can find a better way of doing it, but you don't know until you've done it, and then it kind of evolves, doesn't it? Part of the adventure, isn't it? Haha. So yeah, I'm quite pleased with that. It's good enough for what it needs to be, if you like. I have considered an oxygen bottle, because I don't know. If you look at different versions of Spitfires, on the Mark 1s, the early Spitfires, the oxygen bottle was quite obvious, it was just here somewhere. But I think on the later models it's further back down the fuselage somewhere. And in the kit they put like this rubber tube thing in, and I don't know what it does, because this thing here, that glues, I know, get the right way up. There we go, I think it goes there, I might be wrong. Oh yeah, it goes there. And then it whittles it down there, and it sticks out there. On every single picture of a Spitfire I've ever seen, the real ones, I cannot find that part anywhere. It doesn't show up. It doesn't exist. So I'm sure it does, and I'm sure that Airfix are doing it for a good reason, but I can't find any reference pictures of that part at all. So I'm not going to bother putting it in. I might do a bit more research until I get bored to see if I can find out where the oxygen tank does fit. I'm not going to put it in because there's no point. I have seen references of a regulator system that comes across here that mounts to the sidewall there. And again, I don't know where the wires go after that. It just seems to kind of end around here somewhere. that bottle there is an emergency tank for the lowering the landing gear, and this is an emergency lever to do just that. That's all it does. That's a de-icing system. You learn about Spitfires, don't you, as you build them, and you find out what all these bits do. So yeah, I'm not sure if I'm going to bother with that bit. It's a nice bit of detail, but I really don't see where it goes or what it's for. So yeah, I've been thinking about how to paint this as well. I know it's not relevant to the actual title of the video, but it's just, I suppose it's relevant to the complete build. What colour scheme to do this? I've thought about all sorts of colour schemes. I think I've mentioned before, there's a nice silver Spitfire out there that is just bare metal. I have considered that, so I like to do foiling and stuff, but if I do that, I'll never get this done in a year. I'll be retired before I finished it. I think it's going to be better to just do a painted version of this kit. I do like the clip wing ones though. I like clip wing Spitfires, not all the time, but I do think they look really good with the clip wings. And Airfix do it in the kit. You know, I'm saying it's a French one, which is ironic, isn't it? Really, having a French Spitfire, it's a bit weird. I suppose it's no different having an American one. But I quite like the colours. It's got a yellow tail and it's got a bit more about it. But I wouldn't build it as the original aircraft, because the original aircraft was shot down. Actually, it was shot down by anti-aircraft fire and never to be seen again. But if you imagine, I don't know, you could end up with some wealthy French chap come along and or lady even want to, you know, immortalise that plane and make a reconstructed version of that aeroplane. So you could end up with one like that in a museum, wouldn't you? That's been restored. So at the moment, I think that might be where I go. I might do a restored version of that French aircraft with the clip wings, because I like the colours of it. Anyway, so enough for that. That's part 2, and I think that's enough for part 2 for this particular part of the build, and I'll catch you later.